I'm going to start the conversation by saying I'm old enough to remember back in 1980, and I had a friend that was training, had qualified to be a triple jumper in the Olympics, and we boycotted. And the thing about that this may be a great political action. We'll open. I don't know what anybody's going to say here, but I feel like those athletes paid for it because he could never try it again. 4 years is forever when it comes to an athlete's life. And I almost don't want to boycott them because I don't want to see other athletes miss that opportunity of their lifetime. And I'll start with Amy because you come from a very athletic family. So I don't know if you have that same opinion, but I know that friend of mine, you know, never got a chance to compete in the Olympics.
Right, and I do agree with you. Would I like to boycott China? Yes, of course, because they've been atrocious for decades.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. However, we cannot pick and choose which things we're going to boycott in order to make a firm stance. And in this case, I don't think this is the hill to die on, so to speak, because we do have these athletes who literally have been training most of their entire lives for this very moment. And this is the one opportunity where actually the entire world can get behind something and celebrate.
Yeah. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. Heather, I don't know how you feel about it.
No, I definitely think that it's the thing I find ironic in all of this is if you go back to what just happened with the MLB in Atlanta, Georgia, moving their All-Star game to Denver, Colorado. And you look at a lot of these big sports franchises, the MLB, the NBA, and how they do business with China, but yet they have a problem with doing business in communities here in America. So that's what I'm thinking of when we think about the Olympics, because obviously I think the way that the Uyghurs have been treated, along with what happened with COVID and questions involving COVID as well, there's a lot of reasons that we shouldn't be going to China right now.
Yeah. What do you think, Bobby?
Absolutely. Well, Bob, I'm like 50% agreeing with you because my whole life I've been an athlete, both in tennis as a race car driver, and I like to keep the politics out of sports. Now, I remember that Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. We boycotted. They turned us around in '84, boycotted Los Angeles. So, you know, those were political moves. But here's the thing. Here's the larger picture. I want to take a step back from the boycott and talk about the selection, all right? When you talk about a nation that engages in genocide, in forced abortions, in suppression of all basic freedoms, how does a nation like that get to host the Olympics? All right, these should be some larger themes here. We come together, we compete. It's about nations sharing their higher values. And when you have a nation like that, it should not have gotten chosen at all. I would hate to be an athlete training my whole life with such a gap. You know, 4 years, if you're peaking at certain sports, you're done. There is no second chance. But again, China should never have been picked for something like this with that kind of record. Yeah, and that's what the message we need to send in the future.
Yeah, and I don't mean to influence the conversation. I just know that in the end, everybody remembers we boycotted, but I know people that were actually affected by it instead of just, oh, I can't watch that on TV. But I think there are going to be a lot of people that say boycott. Stacey, what do you think?
So I agree with you that the boycotting is probably not the right step. It's like treating something that's already in progress instead of preventing it. So it's not a preventative and it doesn't seem to have the impact that we want. But I also am of the mindset that when one nation state tells another nation state, you had better not such and so, we're not some tin pot dictatorship like North Korea where they can boss us around. This is America. And if it was President Trump, he'd say, well, I almost have to boycott you because you said not to. You don't tell us what to do. You don't order our athletes or our nation around. So I almost feel like you have to boycott just on the principle of them telling us that we cannot. But I agree. It's not going to solve the issue that we have with them, which is they are a human rights abuser, persistent, epic human rights abuser. The boycott won't do anything but hurt our athletes. But Lord have mercy. I mean, they just really think they can tell us what to do. And to me, that's the biggest part of the story here, that they made a statement like that to us.
Yeah. And I remember I went to the opening ceremonies of the '84 Olympics, and it was exciting that Romania was there because they didn't boycott. So we wanted everybody there. But this does become, everything's becoming political, like Bobby, you're saying. You don't want, we're seeing that now, politics being involved with athletics and the other direction as well. So stand by.